I think Eduardo from Brazil is going to be first on my list here. Eduardo, you are live.
How you doing?
Hello, Eduardo. You're live on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
We talked before. Yeah, we talked before. How are you doing? And how is it's Amanda her name?
Amanda, ciao Eduardo.
Yes,
Hello?
You're on with Amanda Bonanza right now. Yeah, Eduardo, you and I actually talked on Talk Heathen, another part of the atheist community of Austin. But yeah, we
that's
talked.
what I mean. We talked before.
Right.
And but I actually think that this show might be more appropriated, but in this case. But yeah, first I'd like to apologize because I called last week. I don't know if the other hosts will hear that or not, but that's the only way I could find it. Because I talk about reincarnation and ancient aliens and all kinds of things, and it wasn't done on purpose, but I sort of threw him right at the deep end, like I don't know how I put it. You know, I just.
Well, believe it or not, we actually have our host from last week here right now, and maybe we could bring him in if he wants. Kelly, we'll get Kelly in the camera there. Hey, Kelly, how's it going? Can you hear us?
Hey, yeah, how are you?
Kelly, are you accepting of Eduardo's apology here?
Yeah, sure. I am totally accepting of Eduardo's apology. Thank you very much, Eduardo.
There you go.
Isn't that sweet?
You're welcome. No problem. So I'm glad you accept me. So what I call about last week and this week, it's actually spiritism, but not everybody believes the same things because in spiritism, because it's kind of a it doesn't have a hierarchical structure, and but yeah, what I was talking about is this. I was reading something, and the old religions, according to Spiritism, supposedly were created by spirits that were sent here everywhere. For example, in India, spirits that would deal better with the culture of India, so with the polytheists and with the Hebrews. They were given the Bible and Moses and actually, and it comes into that concept that I told you on Talk Hidden of the blind man and the elephant. That the blind man go on a road and find an elephant and one touch. I
think this is a pretty popular idea, Eduardo, because there's a lot of people that think, oh well, a lot of religion is just kind of a lot of roads that are leading to the same place, right? Like, oh, here's some as long as people are kind of following their own path, that's what's appropriate to them, right? And I think that's kind of what you're alluding to. This is an idea that appeals to you, is what it sounds like.
Sort of, but not quite.
Okay.
What I mean is this: today we have a great confusion because of that. But the question is, what we are here to do is like, and that's actually according to Spiritism. What we are here to do is to grow in knowledge. And to gain moral, to let's say to acquire knowledge and to become more moral, and and I think that's kind of the it's a little like the every way goes. Everybody has his way, and then we'll find the way at the end, but it's not quite, like you said, progress is not linear. You're talking about that now.
Yeah,
And
I think sorry, not to interrupt you, Eduardo, but I just want to kind of
yeah,
summarize what we're talking about here so far, because like you
right,
talk about a couple different ideas here. Because one is this idea that there's a bunch of, it's the blind man and the elephant, right? There's maybe something bigger in the whole, and you also made an interesting claim that there's spirits that are kind of around the earth that maybe give particular religious messages based on the cultures of different people, which is really interesting. But you're kind of describing what is often ascribed
right,
to as the problem with organized religion versus individual personal people's religions, right? Individual people's personal religions tend to be, principle centric, and that's pretty much it, right? Whereas organized religions, they come with the hierarchies, they come with the baggages that come with that, and the structure, but also the strife that ends up being endemic to those structures. But like you bring up one principle that I think we could both agree on, which I like, which is we want to pursue knowledge, right? We think that knowledge is kind of a good thing. So I want to challenge you
right.
real quick on this, Eduardo. So you have one idea, which is that spirits give people religion in different cultural contexts. That's an interesting idea. I have a different idea. My idea is that human beings just kind of lean towards the spiritual sometimes. And because that's kind of something that's inherent to human beings at different places at different times, human beings kind of invent their own religions at different points in time, whether sometimes from the top down, but most of the time from bottom up, right? They just kind of come up with some ideas that eventually bring it to something bigger. So here are two different ideas, right? How do we know which one is true? What can we do to figure that out?
Actually, I think that they actually complete each other, because here's the thing: if you get from okay, so your idea is that the religion the beginning of the religion before organizing comes from down to up, right?
Yeah, in my view,
People,
Eduardo, I think all religions are man-made on some level,
right,
right? I think it all
Yeah.
comes from people.
right, yeah,
No.
yeah, no, right, right. So
Eduardo, if I may.
that I say that, yeah,
Eduardo, I think Dan said something that I'd like a little clarification, because you're coming from the perspective that like the spirits are giving people religion, and Dan was essentially contradicting that, saying that he doesn't think that the religion comes from spirits. He thinks that it's man-made. And you said in response to that they complement each other, but I don't see that. I see those as contradictory things, and I'd love it if you could clear that up for me.
right, right. So here's the thing: it's man-made, but in spirits are reincarnated in people. They actually grow up as people, and they don't remember what they came for. They have this intuition, and they are prepared according to the place. Because yes, religion comes from the people. The ideas come actually from the people. That idea of a God that can just go there and tell them to do whatever they want, that doesn't happen, because if it's against their culture, it doesn't happen. You can see it a little more clearly if you see how laws are making. I'm a lawyer myself, and and if
Okay.
you
Well,
observe
if you practice law, I'm sorry, Eduardo, there's always going to be a little bit of delay. So, it's never me in trying to interrupt you on
right.
purpose. But, I'm interested in
No
wanting to know
problem.
true things. That's what Truth Wanted is, right? So like you're presenting, I asked you kind of a
Right.
question between how can we know between these two ideas are true? And I found it interesting because your response was kind of, here's some more ideas that I think lead to my idea
Yeah.
being true, which is talking about reincarnation and these other kinds of concepts. But how do we get to these concepts in the first place? Like reincarnation, for example, how do we know that to be true? How do we know that to be a real phenomenon?
Okay. No, and let me just finish the question of being we both completing the idea, because yes, and religions are man-made, and they are stimulated by more evolved spirits wherever they are. But okay, let's go with reincarnation.
Yeah.
I can't give you scientific proof of reincarnation.
Really?
But I
Oh wait. Oh, you said you can't.
Yeah, you said you
believe
can or you
evidence.
cannot.
Yeah, sorry, Edward. I thought you said I couldn't tell. Did you say you can or
I
can't?
cannot.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. That
I
tracks.
cannot. But I can give what I believe is evidence. And
Okay.
Well,
what I
that's
believe
good.
is evidence of that is for example, things that we are good at, even when we don't really study for it. Like, for example, I'm a decent guitar player, and I had some classes after I realized that in all so many years. But at the beginning, I actually learned by myself, and could do it pretty well in solos, and I think that it's not maybe it came from some other life, or
Okay.
people that
I have a-
meet, that
Eduardo, I have
that
something to say about
know
that.
their
I'd like to
whole
run.
life.
Go ahead, Amanda.
Eduardo, if I may, I'd like to bounce something off you, an idea here. So, like the idea that, okay, so you're talking about kind of the concept of innate talent. Talent is what you're talking about. Like some people just seem to have an aptitude for certain things. Some people just can pick up a guitar and it makes more sense than it does to other people. Some people are better at engineering, whatever it may be. That is your skill. Right. And then there's the other end of that, which is skill, craft. And so, like you say, you're a guitar player. I'm also a guitar player, and I'll tell you, and I'll tell you from my experience that the guitar was not intuitive. I had to learn it, and I had to be bad before I was good, and I had to practice. And the reason I got good was because I enjoyed it and I wanted to be good, so I worked hard at it. And I think really the realistic reality of it is that I think if anybody puts in the work, they could get there. But there are certain people that definitely will get there faster because it makes sense. And I think that's what you're getting at with right, with the reincarnation things. But what I would, and this is where I want to like kind of throw, there's another spitball out there at you. Like, so the idea of reincarnation kind of, that relies on the fact that like once a person dies, they still have consciousness in some way, that their essence is maintained. And we don't really have any evidence for that. In fact, we have a lot of evidence that that does not happen. However, and I'm going to throw this out there, and I'm not 100% on this because I'm not a biologist and I'm not a neuroscientist, but I think there's some legitimacy to the idea that maybe like because we are evolved creatures and we have parents and like DNA is replicated, and like some of our innate and for lack of a better word, our instincts may just come from that, from like layers upon layers and generations upon generations of chemical knowledge that gets.
You're talking epigenetic memories right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying like I don't think like anyone like remembers. Oh, I remember being Joan of Arc. Like, but like more along the lines of like, I mean, we are organic creatures, and I don't know about that for sure. I've heard that there's some legitimacy to that. But from my limited perspective on knowing about those things, I would feel like that is a more, maybe at least has more legs of something to maybe explore than actual reincarnation.
What
do you think about that?
I mean, they don't. I can think about that. I mean, I used to think something like that too, and but I never really explored that. But this is one of the things. The other things is, and last time I said deja vu, but it's not exactly deja vu. It's people that you meet, and it seems that you know them for your whole life. I mean, to me, that's evidence. I mean, and evidence. I mean, it's evidence. You might agree, you might not. We can discuss that here, but I can change my mind. And I think the only I think when you stop to be willing to be to change our minds is when you die, and sometimes we die in life. But
I can think of some things.
Evidence.
You always die in life.
Yeah, that's true. I'll tell you this, Eduardo. I can think of some things that to me would count as much stronger evidence towards reincarnation. Like, for example, if I could start speaking Portuguese to you right now, and I'd be like, oh, I don't know. It's just it's from my past life. That would be interesting because I'm a white kid from America. I don't know any Portuguese. Okay. I never learned it or anything. Right. If there were like more instances of these kinds of skills as you were talking about earlier, but like, feeling like somebody, I mean, that's a pretty subjective feeling, right? Because like, hey, you can feel like you've known someone your whole life and that other person might not feel the same way about you, right? So it kind of has to go both ways there, doesn't it? Maybe
what about when both feel like that? Because I had people in my life that both of them felt like that.
Yeah. And I think it is what it is. I think it's a feeling, right? I don't know if it's more than that. I think you have to be really hard pressed to say, oh, it's reincarnation, right? But I don't know.
I think maybe there's a middle ground there. Like, I don't think necessarily reincarnation, but like it might be a little more than a feeling. I mean, who's to say? Like, I'll say this, Eduardo, you sound like you're a curious person who's with an open mind and you're trying to learn stuff. And I think that's great. And I like to try and keep an open mind as much as I can. We're all human beings. We're all a little limited in that. We all have our hang-ups and things that we get caught up on. But I mean, the idea of like, who knows? There's a lot of things that we don't understand that seem like they could be kismet, or they could be, or there's something at play that's greater than ourselves. And I think human beings have a tendency to automatically go there. And I think one of the things that we can do as human beings is we can entertain that idea, which is what it sounds like you're doing. But maybe not jump to the conclusion that, oh, it's got to be reincarnation. That's what it is, because I can't, because then that's where it gets sticky. And then when you get into the religions and you talk about well, it's man-made. Well, that's how they start, is people make assumptions about things, and then they build, and then they make those assumptions, and then they just carry on as though those things are true. And then they build on top of that. And you end up building this edifice of something like, oh, I don't know, the Catholic Church. And then you end up saying that, oh, well, you can't eat meat on Fridays, and you can only have sex with people in a certain way. And so that's where it gets problematic for me there, Eduardo, isn't that like, I don't think you have bad ideas. But I think it's dangerous to make assumptions, because it all goes back to like, well, there are some unexplained things, but also like that's why we investigate them, and we try to find reasons. We're getting better at it every day.
Yeah, we're running out of time for this call, but Eduardo, I'll let you say your piece here. Go ahead.
Let me just say, one thing that. You're right about that, but one thing about the Spiritism is this: we don't hold dogmas. We are ready to change our mind exactly because of that. Because religions and the trappings, the dogmas, the talismans, things like that, were things we believe. Kardec believes in. That followed the religion, and I believe too, were things that were needed for the childhood of humanity. Now we are getting out of it. That's why the last time I talked to you, I think it was the last time I talked to you, then I actually said, maybe some of you atheists will have to lead the charge, because actually you are, according to us, you are closer to the truth than the Christians, the Muslims. We are Christians, but
I think so.
it's a very different. Yeah, I think you are closest, and of course, I think I am closest, but I'm ready to be wrong.
Right.
Yeah, I appreciate, Eduardo, that you do call in to talk to us about it, because not everybody does,
Yeah.
and that's really meaningful. I do have to let you go. I am going to go ahead and drop you here, but thank you so much, Eduardo,
All
for your
right.
time. I hope I can talk to you again